Welcome back, Devils fans. It is your host, Ace, here on Running with the Devils, and on a special Sunday morning edition of the program, I have some things to discuss and some things to get off my chest. And so right at the top, we are going to say happy trails, happy retirement to former New Jersey Devils captain, Zach Parise. Zach's career ended the other night when the Colorado Avalanche were eliminated by the Dallas Stars, ending Zach's potential cup chase with the Avalanche. Now, I know a lot of us have mixed feelings on Zach Parise, being how he left in free agency after our Stanley Cup run in 2012. And here we see a nice warm embrace between Zach Parise in the handshake line with the head coach of that Devils Cup run team, Peter DeBoer, after the game. Looks like Pete had some nice words and well wishes for Zach there in the line. One of the longer exchanges you see in a handshake line after a series. But pretty illustrious career for Zach. Never got that cup. Got a boatload of money when he left us to go to Minnesota. And a lot of people are still bitter about the way he left and all of that stuff. A lot of misconceptions or rumors or hearsay regarding all of it. I would love to get Zach on the program, obviously just to talk to him about hockey and his career in general. But I definitely would love to talk to him specifically about all of that to maybe clear the air and see if we could get him back in the good graces of Devils fans, depending on what he says. So, Mr. Zach Parise, I hope to be talking to you soon, sir. I will certainly try to get him on the program. And I'll be honest, yeah, he could still play. He can still play. I know he said this was it. If I'm Fitzgerald, that's another guy. You want to play for league minimum, former Devils, star player, still looking for a cup. While we might not be the most sexy destination, wouldn't it be something if he agreed to come here on a one-year deal at league minimum? You know, again, not very likely, and I'm not saying this is a rumor. I'm just thinking out loud. I would love Zach on this team for next season at league minimum. What a great player to have in the bottom six, and I would love to see it. I don't think it's going to happen whatsoever, but if I'm Fitzgerald, I'm certainly trying. I think that would be a very interesting move and help out, improve the bottom six. But if not, happy retirement to Zach Parise. And then we move on to the next item of business here. There was a lot of speculation from myself and tons of other people included that when Kevin Weeks posted that cryptic Prudential Center thing with the eyes, that maybe that was somehow linked to Brind'Amour or maybe not. And it turns out Brind'Amour has been extended in Carolina for 5 years. That honestly happened a lot quicker than I would have anticipated. I thought maybe he was going to, interview with some other teams and try to drive up the price. But it seems like Carolina had no interest in letting him even explore those opportunities. And Hot Rod has been locked up in Carolina for 5 more years. He will not be the next coach of the New Jersey Devils. And so now the coaching search continues. And I'm a little bit afraid at this point that it's going to be Woodcroft. Guys are coming off the board. Berube signs in Toronto the other day. I kind of expected that. I'd be very curious to know the inner workings behind the scenes. We'll probably never know, but I'm curious to know if Fitzgerald ever formally gave him an offer and he was kind of waiting to see how it panned out in Toronto, or if it never even got that far with the Devils. I'm very curious to see, but I thought Berube was holding out for that job. It seemed like that would be the more prestigious hockey market, and the whole thing with him have played there. So it just seemed like that would be one higher up on his list of like dream jobs. And so Berube goes to Toronto, as I expected and said in a video a few days ago. Hot Rod doesn't hit the market. Brind'Amour stays in Carolina, and now it seems as though the two front runners at the moment for the Devils job would be Sheldon Keefe, potentially Woodcroft, and McClellan still floating around out there. At this point, I think, I don't have much to say in regards to these guys. I definitely don't want Woodcroft. I think Keefe could be good, but that wouldn't be a coach that would excite me. Berube would have excited me somewhat, and so would have Brind'Amour. And I don't know. I don't know where they go now, and now maybe Fitzgerald has to start thinking about some of these more, off the board, kind of out of nowhere candidates if we're going to drag this out. But the draft will be approaching soon. Weeks are flying by. We're heading into next weekend. Will be Memorial Day weekend. And we're still without a coach. So I don't really know. I don't really know what Fitz's mindset is now, and it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. I really don't want Woodcroft. A lot of people have said that he's an analytics guy, and that really scares the shit out of me because we already have an ownership group obsessed with analytics, and it seems like a lot of decisions are made or not made based on analytics, numbers, and data. And again, for the 100th time, I do believe personally that those things have a place within the game. I just don't think it should be the end-all, be-all, and the driving force behind decisions, whether it's roster, spots, playing time, etc. I am not an analytics guy in that regard. I'm sorry, I'm not. And I do believe analytics is the reason why the Devils roster for the past few seasons has been as soft as it has been, because the analytics showed that these flashy speed skater types that our roster is filled of was beneficial to building a winning team. And I think throughout the course of the Devil season, as well as the playoffs, a lot of people have seen that it takes more than just that to win. You need character, you need grit, you need heart, you need soul. These things are intangibles that cannot be measured by data and analytics. And it's time for someone to take a step back and say, wow, we really have to start taking these other elements into consideration, because analytics alone has gotten us beaten, battered, and watching the playoffs from home. And it's just really troubling. And hopefully, again, the season and the playoffs was a reminder that you need more than just that. You need these character guys. You need these warrior types. And the Devils really have none. Brendan Smith is kind of one of those guys. I don't know that he'll be back next year, but he's like a character, gritty type guy. And I think Timo could be. Timo could be morphed into one. And, obviously Curtis Lazar has a little bit of it. But we need more dogs. You need dogs on your roster to win. And signing Kurtis MacDermid was a very small piece, or a small step to me personally, in the right direction. Which brings me to my next point. And I really didn't want to do this. I didn't want to engage in this sort of behavior. But some things just piss me off so bad when I see it that I can't help it. And so you guys all know how I felt about Kurtis MacDermid and the signing. And I see this article a couple days ago on All About the Jersey. New Jersey Devils, this is the headline, by the way. New Jersey Devils needlessly re-signed Kurtis MacDermid for 3 seasons and $3.45 million. Right away, I'm like, what a jerk-off kind of title of an article here. I mean, my God, there's a way to, I think, use a little more discretion if you're going to shit on a deal like this. But I see that, and I'm like, oh, I have to read this. This is going to be ridiculous. And then it goes on to say, the New Jersey Devils saw Kurtis MacDermid contribute next to nothing for 16 games in 23-24. General manager Tom Fitzgerald rewarded this nothingness by re-signing MacDermid for 3 seasons and $3.45 million. Absolutely terrible. Wow. Tell us how you really feel, John Fisher. I think your article is absolutely terrible. So we'll just start from the beginning of this. Contributed next to nothing for 16 games. Right away, contributed next to nothing. How do you figure? Kurtis MacDermid was the central figure behind the only sign of team unity, team bonding, and team letting your balls drag was when they saw Kurtis lined up with Rempe at the Garden, everyone went into war mode. 5-on-5 line brawl. When have you ever seen this Devils team or any Devils team in history, a 5-on-5 line brawl to start a game, getting behind their guy Kurtis? They knew when we traded him what we were obtaining in him, and protection is here. And now when it's time to make Rempe answer the bell, everyone said, we're all in. Let's go. It's all of us. We're here for war. And they all dropped the gloves. They all squared up with somebody, and we saw a 5-on-5 line brawl. To me, you cannot put a real price tag on team unity and team mentality, team groupthink. MacDermid was the central figure behind that entire thing. And we'll just continue on with this trash article. Yeah, blah, blah, blah. He goes on, $1.5 million. I'm a little late to the news here, so I've thought deeply about the signing and what it means. As professional and polite as I could put it, it sucks and it is absolutely terrible. Wow, that was both professional and polite. It sucks and is absolutely. This is like an article like a whining kid would write. Who reads these garbage websites? My God. Okay, then he goes on. A little background is required. Blah 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 blah. I wrote then that it was a needless acquisition. Colorado did not even dress MacDermid for half of their games at the time. When he did play in those 29 of 61 games, he averaged .505 per game with the Avs with 2 goals and 12 shots. He joined the Devils right before Lindy Ruff got fired. And Travis Green decided he needed MacDermid in the lineup for 15 of the team's last 21 games. In that time, MacDermid averaged .421 of ice time, put up 4 shots, got an assist when Chris Tierney shoveled the puck in front of the crease, and it went in when the puck bounced off of Haskinen's skate on an own goal, blah, 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 blah. MacDermid was not a key reason of why the Devils were so awful under Green, but his inclusion certainly was not helping anything constructive for the Devils. And then he goes on. This includes the toughness factor. I have been told over and over and over and over about the element MacDermid brings and how the Devils are pushed around and they are all wimps, and you need MacDermid because our hated rivals have Matt Rempe, a player who was basically in no one's mind prior to January 2024. You need a MacDermid, as I have been told. Well, if you still believe and complain that the Devils are too soft, then that tells me that the 16 games of MacDermid did not do a whole lot to change your perception. Therefore, he really isn't adding much there either. MacDermid's presence certainly did not stop Matt Rempe from giving Jonas Siegenthaler a concussion, or these apparent liberties that everyone apparently takes with the Devils. Side note, getting checked legally in hockey is not a liberty being taken. My conclusion is that MacDermid was rather useless on that front. Tell me you don't know shit about hockey without telling me you don't know shit about hockey. Shame on this knucklehead that wrote this article. You are a damn fool. And it's unbelievable to see people this outraged at a signing that is $375,000 above league minimum. League minimum is $775K. He's getting paid $1.15 million. I would understand the outrage if we were paying him $4 million a year for 4 years, but we're not. This is in terms of financial deals, this is nothing. That is a drop in the bucket. And so, yes, he does bring the toughness element that we need, and you do need a guy like him to protect your star players. And if you watched any of the games, our guys were getting smacked around all season long. Where have you been, sir? Do you watch the games? Do you watch the games? We don't need to go through the list of all the guys that have been battered and smacked around prior to him coming here. And yeah, guys are still going to get froggy with him in the lineup, but I do think it's really going to change the way a lot of players act. And that's just been proven in hockey history. That's why do you think Wayne Gretzky had Dave Semenko and McSorley everywhere he went? He had bodyguards everywhere, because if you take a shot on Wayne, it's time to answer to Semenko. But I just can't fathom for the life of me why someone would write an article like this. It's just completely ridiculous. And then we'll go on, blah, blah, blah. They want toughness. And I will say, when I said I need team toughness, this is just one little element. MacDermid is your heavyweight enforcer. He is the guy that's going to scare the shit out of guys. And I do think he will change the way a lot of our opponents play. With that being said, team toughness is not solved with one guy like MacDermid. Let me make that clear. Because I think a lot of people are confused that, we have MacDermid, so now our team toughness is better. Absolutely not. MacDermid fills a role of ultimate protector, and that's a separate thing from overall team toughness. Overall team toughness comes in the form of, going into free agency and getting some grittier power forwards, like guys like, Tyler Bertuzzi and guys of that nature. When you have a few guys like that in your lineup, that is true team toughness, because now you have it weaved in the DNA of the lineup, and it does rub off on other guys. There's no doubt about it that when you see guys like Bertuzzi, and again, guys like Brady Tkachuk, and guys that really play that chippy style, you will see often that players on their team will rise to the occasion when necessary, because they're constantly surrounded by this type of game from their teammates. And I do believe even MacDermid has had a presence in the room, and I do also believe that this deal for MacDermid from Tom Fitzgerald was also a function of Fitzgerald picking the brains and talking to some of the other players on the team. And the players do want him around. You could read it, hear it right from their own mouths. We start off with Dawson Mercer, what he had to say. For sure, in the game, he gives that presence of don't mess around and don't do anything stupid because he is there. There is a presence. You do feel it, and I think the other teams feel it too. Dawson Mercer on Kurtis MacDermid. Is that not a telling quote from one of our young, up-and-coming, offensive guys? Dawson Mercer tells you right away what he thinks. That was on media exit day when they cleaned out their lockers. And then we go, what did Nate Bastian have to say? MacDermid wasn't even here when the original incident happened, and he is the first guy to step in and stick up for guys he has known for a couple of weeks, Bastian said during his exit interview. Jonas Siegenthaler says, it means a lot. He's part of our team and battles for his teammates. I think that it's good to have that in a team. You want to be as tight as you can, sticking up for each other. It is always good to have guys like that on the team. That's from Jonas Siegenthaler. And so it is clear to me that the Devils players on the team liked having him around. They appreciated what he brought. And that alone is worth paying a man $1.15 million to put the rest of the room at ease. And that's what you want to do. You don't want your guys playing scared that they're going to get crushed unnecessarily and people are going to take liberties. They know that Big Brother Kurtis is just a bench jump away from coming out and settling the score. And I do believe that a lot of guys, there's a lot of plays within a hockey game where guys can either decide to completely light somebody up and crush them, maybe with a questionable hit or a late hit, or they could choose to peel off. And I think a lot of times there will be guys, when there's a Devil player in a susceptible position, rather than burying them, they might think twice and say, maybe not the best idea, and they might peel off. That is a very real thing. There is a lot of mental warfare that goes on within hockey games, and I do think having a guy like Kurtis MacDermid is, over the course of a season, going to buy our skill players more time and ice to make plays because people don't want to have to deal with the wrath of MacDermid. That's just another element of what he brings to the team. You are putting fear into the opposition, and that really matters. And so you cannot put a value on that. I don't care about stats and you math nerds and analytics and all these things. Some things are not quantifiable by the stats and analytics, my friends. Some things are not. There are intangibles in this game, and Kurtis MacDermid definitely brings them to the Devils lineup. And for $1.15 million a year, if all of your star players feel better with him around, they like him in the locker room, that's enough for me. I don't need to sit here and ridicule a deal for a little bit over league minimum about how stupid it was and all these things. I just think this is a terrible article and something I would expect like a Rangers website to write or something like that. But we continue on here. MacDermid got a raise in term for does not even play 10 minutes per game. We'll be making more than all these guys on entry-level deals. That's irrelevant. Yeah, and then he goes on to say there was no reason to give MacDermid anything more than a league minimum contract for one season. Well, here's my thing with that. Again, I alluded to this previously. League minimum $775. He's making $1.15. So you're gonna cry over $375,000. Give me a break. Furthermore, what is the harm in giving him 3 years? What is the harm? You want him for one season, so then if he moves on, the season after that, people go back to smacking the shit out of us? It makes no sense. I absolutely love the deal. If you're on the side of this knucklehead, you're part of the problem and you don't understand, and that's fine. That's fine. I see stupid shit on the internet constantly of people that are writing articles that have no idea what they're talking about, and this jabroni is just the latest chapter of it, and it's never going to change, but this one really pissed me off, and so I really felt the need to address it here. Keep on blah, 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 blah. Every dollar in roster spot matters. Of course it does. But $1.15 million is not breaking the bank, and it's not restricting us from doing anything else that needs to be done in the offseason. And then he goes on to the coping and rationalizing coming in. Some preemptive responses, the Devils need to be tough. No, they need to win more hockey games. Their lack of toughness didn't stop them from winning 52 games in the playoff round over a hated rival in 2023. Well, 2024 seems to be the resurgence of the rough stuff and the shenanigans. Yeah, the Devils went on a crazy streak in 22-23 were able to get into the playoffs with a franchise-setting season, and they did beat the Rangers. But if you don't think that Rangers team would roll us right now and did all season long, I think they swept us this season. Toughness has a lot to do with it, and toughness is a mindset. Toughness is an absolute mindset, and you do need to have some toughness to win hockey games. There is a mental component to this game. These are human beings, right? And so when you try to say you don't need to be tough to win hockey games, in a vacuum, no. But over the course of a season, it has to be demoralizing. And keep in mind, these are kids, man. Some of these guys are 20, 22 years old. They're college-age kids. When you see someone on your team get their ass kicked or you get cheap-shotted, it does a lot to the psyche. It really does. And these, again, are not quantifiable things you can measure with the math nerds analytics room. You cannot, and it's time people wake up to the fact. And then he serves up the next one. John, he's good in the room. And then he responds, how much was that worth given that he was being good in the room as a team spiraled down the drain under Green? Blah, 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 blah. Again, the season, in my opinion, was over. When Green was here, we were already in free fall mode. There was tons of shit that went wrong. And I'm not going to judge much of anything based on the Green tenure behind the bench after Lindy was canned. But if you don't think that locker room dynamics are part of the sport and help keep guys in the right frame of mind and that matters, then, again, you're just a lost analytics nerd that wants to look at charts and graphs, and that's solely your tunnel vision is locked in on that, and you cannot make decisions that include any sort of intangibles. And these are all intangible things. They are. And for all the grief that Fitzgerald gets, and I've had my issues with him, obviously, throughout the season with, keeping his hands in his pockets, not getting a goalie, et cetera, et cetera. I have plenty of grievances and gripes with Tom Fitzgerald. This deal is certainly not one of them. In fact, to me, it is one of the only positive things he's done in very recent times, because it shows that he understands what happened last year, and he's not going to let that happen again. Now, he has tons of other work to do this summer. I'm not saying that signing Kurtis MacDermid is fixing our broken roster, but at least he understands the element of the protection, the team's taking liberties, is taken care of. And then he goes on and on with a bunch of other drivel here. I can't go through all these. But bottom line, it was a trash article. And I thought it was really stupid. I think it was really stupid, and it goes on longer than I thought. Wow. Yeah, terrible article. If you are on the side of this man, then I think you need to do some research and, come around, because that is the type of deal that needs to be done to keep guys safe. And finally, we have a Game 7 in Vancouver. My cup final pick in my bracket, my cup champion pick, now needs to go on the road in Vancouver and win a Game 7. The Oilers looked really sharp last night, and now they need to go to Vancouver, win a Game 7, and move on to the Western Conference Finals against the Dallas Stars, who have honestly surprised me. A lot of people were high on them heading into the playoffs. I did not buy the Dallas Stars hype, and so I had in the Western Conference Final Oilers over Avs, but my cup final is still alive. My cup final in the bracket was Oilers over Panthers. It's still alive. I obviously am going to be a huge Florida Panthers fan over the next couple weeks, hoping to see Matthew Tkachuk just shatter the dreams and hopes of Rangers fans everywhere. But if somehow the Rangers beat the Panthers, they're gonna have a pretty good team to beat in the Cup Finals on the West Coast. I just don't even want them to get to the finals, honestly. I just hope it all ends soon. But let me know in the comments what you think about all of this. I'm curious about Zach. I've thrown that question out there before. How do you guys feel about Zach Parise? How do you feel about us missing on Brind'Amour and Berube, and now kind of left with whatever's still out there? What do you guys think about the coach? Throw that out there. Who do you think it's going to be? Is there any other guys we haven't talked about you think that should be interviewed? Somebody threw out Daryl Sutter the other day. I would like him, but I just think he might be too ruthless for this group. I mean, I would love to see it. I would love to see it. And to me, you bring in a guy like that and you weed out the guys who could take the tough love and the guys who can't. And if you can't take it, if you're not a general for the war, you need to go. But I think Fitz is going to get a guy who's going to coddle them slightly a little bit more. But yeah, let me know who you guys think the coach is going to be. What'd you think about this idiotic MacDermid article? And anything else? Man, wow. We're halfway through the playoffs here, folks. It's painful not to be in the dance. Hopefully next season our boys are playing hockey at this time of year. Can only hope. But I will be coming out after the Cup Finals over, a bunch of shopping wish lists and free agency and things of that nature. But that's it, guys. Enjoy your Sunday. It looks like it's pretty nice in most of New Jersey today. And I'll be back soon enough. Like, comment, subscribe, and all that jazz. Until next time, friends, let's go Devils.